Incoming transmission.
Medal of Honor was the PlayStation's answer to GoldenEye. Before 1997, FPS games were a PC thing. Consoles were considered to lack the processing power to run a solid FPS. GoldenEye changed that on the N64 in 1997, and then in 1999 PlayStation got their answer with Medal of Honor, a game set in World War II where you play the role of an American OSS agent. The OSS were a secret service and the equivalent of the modern-day CIA. They were established during World War II, an elite force of brains and muscle often operating behind enemy lines.
Feat of soldiering by anyone's measure. I had your records from basic and OCS pulled. Your instructors gave you high marks for weapons and munitions training. You were the top marksman in your class, excellent leadership skills, noted for being especially smart and resourceful. I also had your university...
Obviously shooting about half the German Wehrmacht throughout the game's 20+ stages is a little bit unrealistic, but it is a good premise for a Doom-style, old-school FPS blast. Today the game is dated in too many ways to mention, but let's try and review it in the context of when it was first released. At the time, this truly was the PlayStation's answer to GoldenEye. All those who had the grey PlayStation 1 finally had a decent first-person shooter. In short, that is what this game is, and a groundbreaker at the time as a PlayStation 1 exclusive. The graphics are nothing to write home to your sweetheart about. They do the job, but the textures are a bit drab. GoldenEye on the N64, by comparison, has aged a lot better with its digitised look, and it was released 2 years earlier. The look of Medal of Honor is a little less real, a little more cartoony, and the draw distance is often noticeably short. What we must bear in mind here, however, is that the team at the time were working with limited power and technology of the 32-bit PlayStation 1, so in that sense it is an achievement, and the shortcomings can be overlooked, especially whilst engrossed in a firefight. The frame rate is good and the game runs smoothly, so you can focus more on the gunplay than the fine details and the blocky heads of the AI. The gameplay is a real draw in this game. Firing through 20 levels back in the day was a blast, and playing the game again was a very nostalgic experience for me, often having to use your wits to overcome Jerry. Being heavily outnumbered, this game is no walk in the park. Hiding behind a gap in the wall whilst you reload is often required, and the game is perhaps surprisingly challenging at times. The real bummer can be dying right at the end of a level when there are no checkpoints on the way there. This game also introduced an element of stealth. Certain levels where you have to go undercover as a German officer are both engrossing and at times hilarious. The guards will point their guns at you in a suspicious fashion before relaxing at one glance of your papers.
Can I help you find where you are going, sir? Forgive me, sir.
This game really was a pioneer in console FPS games, and hence lacks a lot of features you see in the more modern Call of Duty games. You're pretty much on your own out there. There is no friendly AI, although I believe this did change in the sequel. Also, the scale of the levels, particularly those in outdoor settings, are noticeably linear. On one mission, the pre-level briefing explains that it is better to stay on the beaten track to avoid wild animals, as if those would be more dangerous than your highly trained, gun-toting foes. This game is from the days when multiplayer was pretty much limited to split screen against your friend, so the single-player campaign is very long and detailed. It is clear plenty of attention went into its design. The mission details, including the briefings and the many small tasks you have to accomplish, are made with love and effort, something a lot of modern-day single-player campaigns could learn from. The main campaign also has an extra incentive to replay due to the large amount of unlockable content such as new characters and levels on multiplayer. Aside from the graphics being a bit ropey, my only other criticism is the collision detection. The game is much better played with an analog controller, but even so you will often find yourself hitting rough edges in the environment or having to jump several times to get onto a ledge, hence hindering the smoothness of the overall movement. Overall, I really like this game and remember it being amazing at the time when I first bought it. My only home gaming system being a PS1 at the time. Such small but comical features as the animations when the Germans are shot, the amusing donk noise that is made when you shoot off the helmets. These small details can really add depth. The AI are actually pretty intelligent and use walls and boxes for cover very effectively. They also have increasingly fast and relentless trigger fingers as you move into the game, so keep a close eye on your health bar. However, they often look a little foolish when they will kick or throw grenades away whilst facing a nearby wall, only for the nade to explode in their faces. I also liked how the attack dogs will pick up grenades in their mouths. This can be a double-edged sword. Whilst it ensures at least one kill, if the dog runs toward you, it can be fatal. Again, small but awesome details. And that's often what makes a game. I think if we take the time when this game was released into consideration, it scores highly with me. It was a cornerstone for the later, greater Call of Duty games in my opinion. You can see how this game influenced later shooters in the same genre. So overall I would give this game a 9 out of 10. It's worth a look back if you remember playing this during your childhood.